Today's video is brought to you by Card Kingdom, and you can pre-order all the Double Masters cards you need now over at cardkingdom.com. Hello everyone, it's probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another daily dose of Double Master spoilers, and we're officially at the start of week 2 of Double Master spoiler season, and since we got some cards trickling in over the weekend, oh my goodness, do we have a ton to talk about today, which means we should probably jump right into it, start talking about sweet new Double Masters cards, and we're kicking things off today with our 2 exclusive MTGGoldfish previews cards. Thanks to Wizards for hooking us up, not just with preview cards, but one of the best preview cards, and also Goblin Guide, in all of Magic. That's right, Blood Moon and Goblin Guide, both coming back at Rare and Double Masters, along with super sweet new box topper art. And I'm not going to go super in-depth on these cards because I already did a video and an article about them. I will link it in the description, and there should be a card that is about to pop up in the corner of your screen if you want to see the full spoiler video, which was super fun. So check that out if you're interested. But the important thing about both of these cards, especially Blood Moon, that I did want to mention here, is that with the box topper art of Blood Moon, we now have 4 different arts. We have the box topper art, we have the original dark art, we have the corset art, and we have an Amonkhet invocation. And this is actually really important when it comes to Blood Moon because, as you know, one of my all-time favorite decks is Freewind Red. I think out of all the decks I've built, Freewind Red, Mono Red Prison for Modern, probably the one that's had the most lasting impact. It still sees play to this day. And the right way to play that deck, in my opinion, because it's kind of a trolley deck, you're kind of just locking people out of the game on turn 1, is to make sure your Blood Moons and some of your other lock pieces are mismatched if possible. So in the past, you had to kind of go by like borders and stuff, but now we have 4 different Blood Moons arts, which is exactly the number you need to play Mono Red Prison the right way. So I am super hyped to have one of each of these in my Mono Red Prison deck, the only deck that I actually own in paper for Modern, my one deck. So I gotta get the box topper Blood Moon, update my Blood Moons, be ready to go and lock people out of the game. The same is also true of Goblin Guide, although I think it's less important with Goblin Guide, but I guess Burn could kind of be considered a bit of a trollish deck as well. So if you want to mismatch your Goblin Guides, you got Box Topper, you got Zendikar, you have the Master Set version, which is actually the pack version from Double Masters as well, and the GP Probo. So all around, these are 2 really good reprints. They're both valuable in the like $20, $15, $20 range. Even though they've been reprinted a bunch, you're going to be happy to open them, and the box toppers are super sweet as well. So thanks to Wizards for hooking us up with sweet previews. Check out the preview article and video if you're interested. It was definitely super fun. Next on our list, oh my goodness, I know that I've been complaining a little bit about commons being upgraded to rare as box toppers, but good lord, that Brainstorm by Ron Spencer, oh my goodness, that card is amazing. That is going to be, I'm going to say it now, like, yes, the rarity thing plays into it, but I expect this Brainstorm to be one of the most valuable of the rare box toppers. The mythics, since they're going to be harder to find, probably going to have a price advantage because they're more scarce, but this is an amazing art. Brainstorm, even though it's like $1 common because it's got printed a million times, it is one of the most important cards in Legacy. It sees play in Commander decks, CEDH decks, it sees play everywhere, and the art on the box topper, it's spectacular. I don't know what else to say. And even though Brainstorm is $1 common in general, we have seen special versions of Brainstorm be very, very expensive. The F&M promo Brainstorm, over $50. I think it was even more than that at one point. The foil Brainstorm from Jace's signature spellbook is like $12. I expect this box topper Brainstorm, especially the foils, to beat out all of those. Legacy players are going to need a playset for their decks. Legacy players love to bling out their decks. The art on, oh boy, it's spectacular. The Ron Spencer art on the box topper is spectacular. It's going to look amazing in foil. So I expect this Brainstorm to be really expensive. And I mean, it's also fine that you get to pick up some normal copies in your boosters. It's still like $1 common, which for a common is actually good value. So even though I've done some complaining about commons being upgraded to rares to be box toppers, I think Brainstorm got to be an exception to the rule, especially with that art. It is going to be super expensive. Great reprint at Double Masters. Speaking of great reprints, We got Mana Reflection today. We were wondering if we'd get the rest of the reflections, and Mana Reflection got some sweet art as well. And out of all the reflections, this was the most important price-wise. Mana Reflection, somehow, well, I know why. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it is a $45 card. $45 card. The reason is it's never been reprinted. This is the first ever reprint. It's very old. It's been a long time since we've seen any of the reflections show up, so the supply is pretty low, and it's one of those cards that just keeps creeping up in value because of Commander. So this is going to greatly reduce the price. I mean, this is going to be down under $10. It's going to get absolutely crushed in price, and that's because the reason Mana Reflection is so expensive is because there's just not many out there. It doesn't really see that much play in Commander, and part of the problem is we've gotten better options available. Like Mana Reflection, yes, back when all we had was like Mirari's Wake to double our mana, was very powerful, but now we have Zendikar Resurgent, we have Nyx Bloom Ancient, we have all these options that are arguably Mana Reflection but better that you can just play in your Commander decks, which means even though the price is high, the demand for Mana Reflection is not that high. I did some research on this over on EDH Rec, and really, Mana Reflection is only a staple, quote unquote, in Omnath and also Namada, which is a pretty fringe deck. You don't see many Namada decks running around. And then it occasionally shows up in other big mana decks like Zakama, for example, where places where you can untap your lands. But really, it's mostly been beaten out by mana doublers, mana triplers that are just more powerful and have shown up in recent years. So this reprint, even though Mana Reflection is not going to be a $45 card for long, it's still a good reprint because I think Mana Reflection is going to end up way, way cheaper. I'm talking $10 or under. So if you do need a Mana Reflection to play Commander, this is going to be really cheap for you to pick up now compared to spending a ridiculous $45. Plus, I think the art is pretty cool. So good reprint, even though don't really take that $45 price at face value. That's more based on scarcity than playability. We also got Modern All-Star Death Shadow, still like an $8 rare. You probably know what this one does. It's part of the Grixis Death Shadow deck, 4-color Death Shadow decks in Modern, in Legacy, where you just try to make yourself lose a bunch of life. It's been reprinted a couple times, but still part of top-tier decks in Modern and fringe decks, but still playable decks, maybe Tier 2, Tier 3 decks, sometimes Tier 1 decks, in the Legacy format as well. So that's where the Death Shadow demand comes from. Solid reprint, solid value. Next up today, we enter the world of what I would consider mid-grade Commander-focused mythic. So Sen Triplets making its return, and this one's kind of weird. So Sen Triplets, it is a very popular Commander. According to EDH Rec, one of the 100 most popular Commanders in the format, because being able to play your opponent's deck with Briberies and Gaunties and Thief of Sanities, and of course Sen Triplets yourself, is just a really fun strategy. It's something that you can't really do, at least competitively, in any other format. But in Commander, it's actually really sweet and really fun because you have 3 different opponents, so you can target whichever one you think has the best stuff. So really popular, fun strategy for Commander, which makes Sen Triplets pretty valuable. The odd thing about Sen Triplets is even though its original printing from back in Alara block is still like 30 some dollars, it was just reprinted as a foil in Mystery Boosters. And oddly, the foil Mystery Booster Sen Triplet is only like $14. So if you want a Sen Triplets and you like foils, you can actually just snap off the Mystery Booster one for way cheaper than you can pick up a non-foil original printing. So that's going to bring down the price of our new Sen Triplets as well, which I think right now is around $14, probably get down under 10, but that's a huge deal. It used to be you had to spend $30, $40, $50 to get a Sen Triplets if you wanted to build around it in Commander, but now, thanks to a combination of Mystery Boosters giving us cheap foils and Double Masters giving us another reprint, Sen Triplets is going to be super cheap and accessible. So if you want to build around it, now is the time to get your copies on the cheap and build a really fun Commander deck. We also got Archangel of Thune, another mythic that is kind of surprisingly expensive. I actually didn't realize it was reprinted in Iconic Masters. I didn't realize it was still like $25, $30. Obviously, price is going to come down, get a little cheaper now. So Archangel of Thune, with its ability to put a counter on all of our stuff whenever we gain life, on top of being a big flying lifelinker, used to see competitive Modern play with Spike Feeder. Spike Feeder Archangel of Thune is just a 2-card combo. You remove a counter from Spike Feeder to gain a life, that triggers Archangel of Thune, puts a counter on everything, including Spike Feeder, so when you have another counter you can remove to gain life. Basically, you get infinite life, infinitely big creatures, and then you just kill your opponent or win with infinite life. However, in more recent eras of Modern, we have like much faster creature-based combos with Devoted Vizier and stuff like that. So this combo's kind of fallen out of favor, doesn't really see play anymore, which means Archangel of Thune now is mostly a piece for life gain focused commander decks, and a very good one. If you're playing Karlov or Heliod or Aloru, you're pretty much always going to want Archangel of Thune in your deck because it's just such a great payoff for a deck that is gaining life. So that's where most of the demand for Archangel of Thune comes now. That's why it's still a $25 card, even though it's been reprinted in the not that distant future. So Archangel of Thune, I mean, not a Force of Will, not a Jason Mind Sculptor, but a solid mid-range mythic, definitely worth more than the cost of a pack, and a solid inclusion in Double Masters. We also got Avenger of Zendikar. In Avenger of Zendikar, this is a good chance to talk about how reprinting cards constantly is just as good, or actually arguably way better, than waiting till a card gets ungodly expensive and then reprinting that card. So Avenger of Zendikar, a very popular commander card. 7 mana, you get a 5/5, it makes a plant for each land you control, and then it has landfall, so when a land comes into play, you put a counter on each of your plants. This means that Avenger of Zendikar shows up as a finisher in basically any deck that is all about making land drops in Commander. Radas, Lord Windgrace, Tetyova, in any of these decks, Avenger of Zendikar can just win the game on its own, make a bunch of land drops, make huge plants, kill your opponent, can put up a big bout defense, can also do some fun janky shenanigans. One of my favorite Commander Clash decks was the Reaper King Avenger of Zendikar deck, where you turn all of your plant tokens and everything else into scarecrows with Arcane Adaptation, Conspiracy, get down Reaper King, cast Avenger, make all these plants just blow up all your opponent's permanents. Absolutely hilarious. So very much a commander staple. As far as price, Avenger of Zendikar is only $10-ish. However, the reason Avenger of Zendikar is only $10-ish, even though it is a true commander staple, is Wizards has done a great job of reprinting Avenger of Zendikar almost every single year. It's shown up in a bunch of commander decks. It showed up in a dual deck. Now it's coming back in Double Masters. So Wizards, kind of like we talked about with Blasphemous Act, just reprints and reprints and reprints Avenger of Zendikar. If it wasn't for Wizards taking this aggressive reprint stance, Avenger of Zendikar would be really expensive. It would be $30, $40. It would be very, very difficult for players to get. So even though this isn't a high value reprint that you're going to open in your set, reprinting cards like Avenger of Zendikar, they have very high commander demand. Basically every single year is a great way to keep their price $5 to $10 rather than waiting like some other cards we've seen. Like Damnation didn't get reprinted for so many years. It got up to a ridiculous price. Everyone was so upset. It's better to just keep reprinting cards like this. They have incredibly high demand rather than waiting until everyone's complaining because they cost $50 and they can't get them for their commander decks. So even though this isn't the most exciting mythic to open in your pack, it's a great reprint for commander purposes. Going to help keep the price down, make sure that everyone can get them for their commander decks. We also got the return of Fatal Push. So Fatal Push, solid uncommon. It's $2.50-ish, so in your uncommon slot, you're going to be happy about it. On the other end, also coming with a full art rare box topper. So Fatal Push, I know we've debated a little bit the common and uncommon box toppers. This is one, though, that is probably a pretty good one. Fatal Push, one of the most played cards in Modern, in Legacy. It is a true staple removal spell in formats that have fetch lands. So even though I wish that all the box toppers were rare and mythics, Fatal Push is a solid box topper, and it is going to have some amount of value as players pick them up, although I do expect it will probably end up in the middle to lower tier of box toppers, but still, I think there's more demand for a box topper Fatal Push than like a Tron land or cards like that, so expect this to be a decent box topper to open, even though it's not a super expensive card in its own right. We also got a rare Pure Steel Paladin. So Pure Steel Paladin card is still like $8, so it definitely has some value, a great equipment payoff. It was at one point a piece of a really cool Modern deck, the Cheerios deck with Pure Steel Paladin, Rob Senior Edificer, where you just play all the zero-man equipment and like cast them, draw a ton of cards, pick them all back up with a retract, do it again, do it again. The problem is that deck needed Mox Opal to survive, and while getting rid of Mox Opal has been a good thing for Modern overall, it also killed some weird fridge decks like the Pure Steel Paladin Cheerios deck, because Mox Opal is how you made the mana to like retract all of your zero mana equipment. It's how you made the mana to eventually cast like a Grape Shot to win the game. So now that Mox Opal has been banned, Pure Steel Paladin has basically not been a card at all in Modern, and I don't know if it will be at any time in the future outside of like fun rogue brews. On the other hand, it shows up in a lot of commander decks, because if you're playing an equipment-based deck, especially a mono-white equipment-based deck like Nahiri or Sram that really struggles to draw cards, Pure Steel Paladin is a key addition to that deck, drawing you a card whenever an equipment comes into play under your control, and then equipping stuff for free is also very powerful. So if you're a white-based equipment deck, Pure Steel Paladin going to be an auto-include in your 99, one of the best cards in your deck, and that is why, even though it doesn't really say Modern play anymore, it's still a really valuable rare. So solid reprint, going to be good for Commander, and who knows, maybe something comes along that makes it playable in Modern again. Next on our list, we got what I think is our final lower rarity box topper, Lightning Greaves. And Lightning Greaves, this is another card that Wizards reprints on repeat. It shows up every year, sometimes multiple times in a year, and it's still like $6, and that is because it is the number 2 most played card in all of Commander, only beaten out by Soul Ring in the entire format. It is essentially an auto-include in almost any single deck that you will build. There's very, very few decks that won't want a copy of Lightning Greaves. Protects your commander, gives your stuff haste. It's just a really amazing card in Commander, and this is equipment that, unlike what we've talked about with some other equipment stuff, where you'll play in an equipment-themed deck, Lightning Greaves breaks beyond that barrier and just shows up in essentially any deck. That's how good it is in the format, and Lightning Greaves is coming along with a box topper, and this is a time when we definitely cannot complain about a lower rarity box topper. Looking at the rares we've seen in Double Masters, Lightning Greaves is a better box topper than essentially all of them, and I expect this to be a very expensive box topper, one of the most expensive rare box toppers. We already have a little bit of history here. Lightning Greaves was a Kaladesh invention or masterpiece, and the Lightning Greaves masterpiece, even though it's lower rarity, it's uncommon, because it has such incredibly high demand from Commander, it is in the top half of prices out of all of the masterpieces from the set, beating out many rares and mythics and modern playable cards along the way. So I believe that Lightning Greaves and its box topper, it's a great inclusion. Can't complain about more reprints in a normal set, kind of like we were talking about with Avenger of Zendikar, but on steroids. If Wizards didn't reprint this every year, sometimes multiple times a year, the price would get out of control really, really quickly, and it comes with a super sweet box topper that is going to have a lot of demand from Commander players because it looks really sweet, and I think people are going to want it. So definitely a great inclusion, and can't even complain about a uncommon rare box topper in this case. We also got a couple of Commander-focused rares, Arixmithis Slumbering Isle, Mezarek Cruel Death Priest. Oh my god, these names. Wizards, stop doing that to me. And these are cards that are actually relatively high value. I think Arixmithis, like $6, Mezarek is like $8, so definitely decent value for a rare. That's kind of the price range you're looking for when you get 2 rares in a pack. You open 2 on that level, you're getting your money back, plus you get your foils, your commons, and uncommons. Arixmithis, it is expensive almost exclusively because it's played as a commander, and it is a very popular commander. Out of all the Simic commanders in the commander format, I think Arixmithis is number 6 on the most played list according to EDH Rec. So that is where most of the demand for Arixmithis comes from, being the commander of your commander deck. Mezarek, on the other hand, is very different. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, you get a counter on each of your creatures, so it grows really quickly, and this is a card that sees very little play as a commander. It's an unpopular commander. On the other hand, it is incredibly popular in the 99 of sacrifice-based decks. Corval, Vivictus Asmati, Cave Guru of Spores, Shattergang Bros. Essentially, if you're playing a deck that's built around sacrificing stuff, Mezarek is going to show up in your deck very close to 100% of the time. It is the perfect addition for your deck, growing itself, growing all your other creatures as you're sacrificing your board, so absolutely insane in that style of deck. So Mezarek, high value because of 99 playing Commander. Arixmithis, high value because it's really popular as a Commander, although it doesn't really see much 99 play. Combined together, 2 really good rare reprints coming in Double Masters. We also got Endless Atlas, which is one of the more underrated Commander cards, I think. Currently like $5, which, not bad. Like, that's a decent value for a rare, although will drop a bit from here, which is good so more players can get it. 2 mana, 2 tap it, draw a card, can only activate it if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. So the role of Endless Atlas, it's very straightforward and simple. It is one of the best sources of card advantage for mono white and to a lesser extent mono red, especially mono red with artifact synergy based commander decks. Like 2 mana, draw a card, do this every single turn once you get 3 plains, 3 mountains on the battlefield. That is exactly what mono white decks are looking for, making it an easy inclusion in decks like that. And as I said, mono red as well. So Endless Atlas as a steady source of card advantage that really should probably even be played more in Commander. I think people might not know about the card, they might sleep on the card, but this is one of the best cards you can play in mono white or mono red in Commander, and probably going to keep creeping up in price as more and more players realize just how good it is in the format. So not a super high value rare, but definitely a card that I would see creeping up in value if Wizards hadn't reprinted it, which makes it a very solid reprint on its own. In the world of uncommons, we got Basalt Monolith, which is important for, well, a couple of reasons, actually. One is, it's a pretty playable mana rock in Commander, one of the, 50-ish most played colorless cards, which means it's actually worth, $6 or something, even though it's an uncommon that's been reprinted before. However, the most exciting part is this is the first time Basalt Monolith has ever got a foil printing. I believe, unless I'm missing something, first time ever in foil, which means the foils of Basalt Monolith are probably going to be pretty expensive. I think maybe the best comparison is Ashnod's Altar. Got its first foil printing in Eternal Masters, and the foil's like $20-ish, even though the non-foil is around $6, similar to Basalt Monolith. So first time players will have access to foil Basalt Monoliths for their Commander decks, and is a $6 uncommon, another card that is going to be a good open in the uncommon slot of your booster packs. We also got what I would consider a few mid-grade Commander-focused rares. These are cards that they're worth more than bulk. Vishkale, like $5, Open the Vaults, maybe $3, Time Sieve, also with a $3 range. So these are cards that have some demand from Commander. They're not high value. You're not going to be thrilled to open them in your pack, but they are worth more than the complete bulk card. So Fishkale sees a bit of play as a Commander. Open the Vault's really good in Artifact or Enchantment themes deck, both as a combo piece. If you're playing some sort of egg sacrifice style decks, you sacrifice all your stuff, open the Vaults, it all back into play in one turn. Also just good protection from your opponents blowing up all your artifacts or enchantments with, I don't know, his Stir Command or something. And Time Sieve, mostly a combo piece. If you have like Thopter Foundry, Thopter Assembly, there are ways that you can make 5 artifacts every turn. Sack them, take an extra turn. During the extra turn, make 5 artifacts again, sack them, take an extra turn. So that mostly is where it sees play. But really, mostly fringe-ish Commander cards for very specific archetypes, but still reasonable reprints, better than some of the rares we've seen from Double Masters. We also got the parade of bulk rares. Some of these coming out over the weekend, so we didn't get all these today, but a bunch of stuff that, I mean, it's already cheap. Some of it is semi-playable, like Magus of the Well, I have seen see play in Commander. Shamanic Revelation, decent card draw spell for a Commander. The rest of it, Swiftblade Vindicator, meh. Skarsdag High Priest, meh. Tuk the Explorer, meh. I will say Eon Storm, probably the worst rare in the entire set. Like, it is cheap, it is unplayable as a rare can be. It's never been reprinted, it's 20 years old, and it's still like a 20 set card, which is a pretty good sign that just no one ever buys Eon Storm. However, I have a soft spot in my heart for Eon Storm. I don't know if I've told this story before. I know I have on stream, but I'm not sure if I had on YouTube. But the first deck I ever built in my entire history of Magic was back in like 2005 or something. Most of the cards that I had access to from my friend's collection were from Mirrodin Block, like kind of that era. And the first deck I ever built was an Eon Storm charge counter deck, which essentially was an against the odds deck where you're trying to like use Energy Chamber and so forth to put counters on stuff, then remove the counters to deal damage and stuff. It was absolutely horrible. I got wrecked by another friend who was playing like Scepter Chant locks, playing Stasis locks, so I just had absolutely no chance of ever winning a game. But I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Eon Storm because it was the first deck I ever built. Finally today, checking in on prices. We got a bunch more. We're up to 67.5% of mythics revealed, over 70% of rares. Right now, average mythic value, $30.57. Median mythic value, $21. Both really solid numbers. Can't really complain about that at all. Although, our new mythics for the day, Archangel of Thune, $25, Avenger of Zendikar, only 12, Send Triplets, 14, not some of the higher rare ones, so those have brought down the number a little bit. As far as rares, 450 average value, 250 median value, although today's rares have actually helped quite a bit, with Mana Reflection Bloodmoon Goblin Guide being on our top 10 list, I would say, of most valuable rares in the set so far. However, the biggest news, and the thing I wanted to mention today, is overall, since we started getting spoilers, we're starting week 2 of spoilers, we have seen, on average, a 40% price decline from rares and mythics reprinted in the set. That means, compared to the price of the card before Double Masters, we've seen a 40% drop. That's almost half off in the course of a week, which is a really, really nice decline for players. That means you're going to be able to get a lot of really playable cards at a massive discount compared to just a week ago. So the set's already doing its job. I mean, a great example of this is Jason Mind Sculptor, $58. It was $93, and we see drops like that pretty much across the board, both for rares and for mythics. So essentially, even if you don't buy a box, even if you don't buy a VIP booster, you're going to be able to get cards at a great discount to build your Commander decks, Modern decks, Legacy decks, you name a format, you're going to be able to get cards for it on the cheap, which is really exciting. That's exactly what we want to see Master Sets doing, and so far, Double Masters is doing it well. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our daily Double Masters spoilers for today. So, what do you think about these new cards? How hyped are you for new Blood Moons and new Goblin Guides with new art? What do you think about those? Mana Reflection, how cheap is it going to be? Is that something you're actually going to play? What about our new Mythics? Archangel of Thune, Avenger of Zendikar, Send Triplets. Are you going to build Commander decks with those? Do you have homes for them? All the other stuff as well. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.